Some of them have filmed videos showing various ways of destroying Uniqlo clothing, including setting it on fire, tearing it apart, or cutting it up. They've added hashtags like support Xinjiang Cotton to their posts and declared their intent to boycott Uniqlo. People might wonder, what exactly is so special about Xinjiang Cotton? Why did the Chinese Communist Party feel compelled to repeatedly mobilize vast resources, craft narratives, and rally the public to defend them? Hello and welcome back to Oh My God. Do you guys have any favorite clothing brands? Uniqlo is pretty great, isn't it? But did you know, recently Chinese nationalists also won. The reason? The president of Uniqlo's parent company in Japan publicly stated that they do not use cotton from the Xinjiang region. Although the president declined to further explain the reasons behind his decision, once the news was reported into official media and spread back to China, Chinese netizens collectively erupted, venting their anger online in various ways. Some of them have filmed videos showing various ways of destroying Uniqlo clothing, including setting it on fire, tearing it apart, or cutting it up. They've added hashtags like support Xinjiang Cotton to their posts and declared their intent to boycott Uniqlo. Under nationalist mobilization, many foreign brands have faced boycott threats from Chinese netizens. In 2023, when Japan began releasing treated water from the Fukushima nuclear power plant, Chinese netizens started boycotting Japanese cosmetic brands. The awkward reality, however, is that these boycott movements, aside from generating short-lived buzz, had little tangible impact. For instance, SK2, which was on the boycott list, still recorded revenue growth of 7% in quarter 3 and 8% in quarter 4 of 2023. But this time, is the boycott threat against Uniqlo real? We need to understand that China's market remains incredibly vast. While Chinese patriots often proclaim to support domestic products, they still have a strong preference for high-quality clothing from abroad. Uniqlo, the target of this boycott threat, generated an impressive of 677 billion yen, approximately 4.5 billion USD, in revenue from the Greater China region in its 2024 fiscal year, accounting for about a quarter of its total revenue. The boycott is effective. Perhaps we'll see a noticeable decline in the next fiscal year's revenue report. However, when it comes to actions, Chinese consumers often make more noise than impact. For example, when Huawei's flagship Mate 60 was launched last year, it created a nationwide sensation, which netizens loudly proclaimed, "Support Huawei and support domestic products." Yet, market reports revealed that the best-selling smartphone in China was still the iPhone 15 Pro Max, with Apple accounting for 3 of the top 2 of 5 spots. This indicates that Chinese consumers still prefer foreign products despite patriotic rhetoric. However, from this online campaign organized by netizens to support Xinjiang Cotton, you can observe how the Chinese government and Chinese businesses use nationalism as a protective moat. The concept of a moat is highly significant in the field of business investment. It refers to unique technologies, business models, or other advantages that provide a company with a competitive edge. These exclusive elements enable a company to maintain stable profitability, protecting it from being overtaken or eroded by competitors, much like a moat around a castle. Warren Buffett famously uses this term and often evaluates his investment targets from this perspective. However, for Chinese businesses, their moat is often not technology, business models, intangible assets, or even the product itself. Instead, it is the use of nationalism, an ancient yet effective tool. From the Mao Zedong era to today under Xi Jinping, the Chinese Communist Party has consistently relied on nationalism to protect domestic industry. As early as 1947, during the Chinese Civil War, Mao Zedong stirred anti-American and anti-Western sentiments in major cities like Shanghai, urging people to support domestic goods and boycott American products. Today, through top-down patriotic education and the promotion of Xi Jinping thought, this nationalism has deeply permeated the daily lives of many Chinese citizens. These extreme little pinks interpret any criticisms of Chinese products or businesses as a denial of China itself. When foreigners or companies criticize China, they rally en masse to support Chinese businesses and threaten boycotts in response. In addition, the Chinese government often joins forces with the little pinks, using various measures to retaliate against foreign companies that express criticisms or dissent towards China. In fact, even before Uniqlo's recent statement about not using Xinjiang Cotton, several foreign brands already faced boycotts in China due to their policies on Xinjiang Cotton. For example, in September this year, China launched a high-profile investigation into American fashion brands like Tommy Hilfiger and Calvin Klein, both owned by PVH Corp. The Chinese government stated that it had received reports accusing PVH of unjustly boycotting Xinjiang Cotton, violating normal market transaction principles, severely harming the legitimate rights and interests of relevant Chinese enterprises, and endangering China's sovereignty, security, and developmental interests. Earlier in 2020, in response to the US government's passage of the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act, a regulation banning all imports from Xinjiang unless companies can provide credible evidence proving that their supply chains are free of forced labor, the US Customs and Border Protection Agency blocked imports valued at over $1 million due to their involvement in forced labor of Uyghur workers. Subsequently, several international brands, including H&M, Adidas, Nike, and Converse, issued statements declaring that they would cease using cotton sourced from Xinjiang. Unsurprisingly, this sparked widespread anger among Chinese citizens who called for boycotts against these brands. So far, the effectiveness of these boycotts appears to be quite limited. These major brands continue to thrive in the Chinese market. For example, Nike, which was once at the forefront of the backlash, has not experienced a revenue decline in China over the past 3 years. In fact, in the year following the boycott calls, Nike achieved a 25% year-on-year revenue growth, reaching $8.29 billion, its highest in a decade. However, despite the limited effectiveness, the spread and escalation of nationalism within China remain a significant concern. Many individuals have adopted extreme and aggressive methods to express their support for the country and rejection of foreign entities, revealing a loss of rationality among some citizens, turning them into fervent nationalist warriors. In recent years, the increasing incidence of attacks on foreigners within China reflect the dangerous consequences of unchecked patriotism. People might wonder, what exactly is so special about Xinjiang Cotton? Why did the Chinese Communist Party feel compelled to repeatedly mobilize vast resources, craft narratives, and rally the public to defend it? Xinjiang had been a long and critical cotton producing region, with annual exports of exceeding 5 million metric tons. Xinjiang alone accounts for over 20% of the global cotton supply and more than 90% of China's cotton production capacity. Additionally, in 2023, China exported over $10 billion worth of cotton, generating substantial foreign exchange earnings. For this reason, Xinjiang's cotton is essentially China's cash cow. If the apparel industry stops using cotton from Xinjiang, it leaves these 5 million metric tons of cotton with an uncertain future. In our previous videos, we discussed how China had been grappling with stagflation in recent years, with domestic demand showing little improvement. The annual CPI growth rate had lingered below 1% for years, well below the healthy level of moderate inflation at 2%. As a result, China heavily relies on overseas markets to offload its excess domestic production capacity. Without this outlet, the already weak domestic demand and unsellable surplus products would further exacerbate the dire economic situation. This would not only lead to factory closures and production line shutdowns, but also force raw material suppliers out of business, disrupting entire supply chains. In addition, China's apparel industry is also heavily impacted by policies surrounding Xinjiang Cotton. Each year, China accounts for 31% of the global apparel exports and 42% of the textile exports, with a total export value reaching $293.64 billion. As China's economy weakens and declines, consumers are cutting back on clothing expenses, forcing a large volume of cheaply made Chinese garments to seek markets abroad. As we mentioned earlier, cotton from Xinjiang constitutes 90% of China's domestic cotton production, meaning it's difficult for Chinese-made garments to avoid using Xinjiang cotton. If countries and companies ban products containing Xinjiang cotton, these garments will also face significant export barriers. Under this immense pressure, the Chinese government is compelled to strongly defend Xinjiang cotton, which brings us back to the story you mentioned at the start of this video. By using official media to spread misinformation and incite public anger, they leverage the flames of nationalism to pressure foreign companies into compliance. At the same time, the ongoing investigation into Tommy Hilfiger and Calvin Klein remains active, serving as a high-profile attempt to coerce these brands into compromising under the lure of Chinese market opportunities. But does this really work? If it's merely short-lived boycott threats from netizens, the impact may not be significant. However, the extreme nationalism nurtured by the government risks creating another Boxer rebellion-like tragedy, potentially leading to more catastrophic incidents within China. 2 years ago, The Economist warned that the prevalence of online hate speech reflects the emergence of a pathological nationalism in China under Xi Jinping's leadership. China should follow legitimate channels to ensure that domestic businesses operate transparently, fairly, and safely. This approach would enable Chinese companies to comply with international trade regulations and compete fairly with foreign enterprises. However, instead of taking this path, China has chosen to stoke nationalist sentiment and use nationalism as a protective moat, a strategy that clearly runs counter to the principles of fair international trade. We must continue to monitor this issue closely. It is essential to protect our brand's ability to reject unjust and unethical supply chains and to stand firm against threats from China. At the same time, we should remain vigilant about the spread of extreme nationalism in China, ensuring that we can respond promptly and effectively while countering it with high-level policies. Do you know any other brands that have been boycotted by Chinese citizens? Leave a comment and share your thoughts with us. If you enjoyed our video, please like, subscribe, and share our channel. See you next time. Bye-bye!